Okay. Now, brain. Okay, so today we actually have brain and the cranial nerve. Okay, remember in the lecture we talk about system. One system is called the nervous system. You remember that? This nervous system consists of organs, right? Remember, system consists of organs. And the nervous system actually only have 3 organs on that system. Anybody know what is the organ of the nervous system?
Brain.
Yes, that's the first one.
Spinal cord.
Brain, number 1, and then spinal cord, number 2. What is the last one?
Nerve.
Nerve, right, nerve. Nerve. Okay? Nerve. Now look at this. Let's say I make this, let's say this is brain. Okay? And then under the brain we have longer organ. Okay, so this is brain. What you call this?
Or brain cell. Oh, spinal cord.
Spinal cord. Okay, spinal cord. That's the second organ. Where is the third organ? The nerve. The nerve, there are 2 types of nerve actually. Right? The first one is the nerve that out from the brain. So actually nerve is the one that connects your organs with the brain and the spinal cord. Right? So there are nerve that out from the brain. Right? That nerve is called the cranial nerve. Okay, cranial nerve. This is the one that connects your brain with the organs, other organs in your body. Okay, now there are 12 pairs of cranial nerve. Right? So 12 pairs of cranial nerve. So how many total going to be? 24. Okay, we have left and right side of our body. Right? Now the second nerve is actually the one out from the spinal cord. Okay? It's called what? Spinal nerve. That's correct. Spinal nerve. Spinal nerve. How many pairs do you think? It's gonna be more or less than 12? More, because it's longer, right? Spinal nerve is longer. It should be more nerve over there. Anybody know? There are 31 pairs, right, of spinal nerve. Okay, 31 pairs. How many total? 62. Now, how many total nerve that we have? 62 plus 24. 86, right? We have 86 nerve total, right? Which is half and half, right? So 12 pairs of cranial nerve and 31 pairs of spinal nerve. Do you still remember our homeostasis, our feedback system? Feedback system, right? How many components in feedback system?
Effectors, receptors.
What is the first one?
Brain.
What is the first one called? 3 main components of feedback system. Of course, first we have to receive something, right? That will be sent by organ or component is called the receptors. Get it? Receptors. We have a lot of receptors in our skin, for example. Right? There are touch receptor, there are pressure receptor, there are pain receptors. That all called the receptor. Right? What is the second component? Yes, control center. Control center. And this is the one that will process that information from the receptor. You guys want? And then what happened after that? The control center will produce order. And the order go to the effectors. And again, we have 5 types of effector over here. There are 5 types of effector. The one that can perform voluntary action, what do you call that effector?
Voluntary.
Yeah, what is that? What is that? We only have what muscle?
Skeletal.
Skeletal muscle. Remember, the other 2 muscle is not voluntary, right? Skeletal muscle. Okay. What is the second one? Gonna be cardiac muscle. Okay, this effector actually 3 muscles and 2 glands. You used to remember. Okay. Cardiac muscle. What is the next one? Smooth muscle. Okay, and this is the 4th one. This is going to be the gland. Going to be exocrine gland. Okay, and the last one going to be endocrine gland. Okay, so that's the effector. Effector means organ that perform action based on the order from the control center. Only one of these is voluntary. So this is the only voluntary effector over here. Skeletal muscle. The rest will be involuntary. Okay, you follow that one first. Now look at this. Brain is actually the main control center, right? Brain and spinal cord. This is control center over here. Okay, so brain, spinal cord, they are the control center. Now what is the receptor gonna be? Somewhere, let's say maybe here over here. So we have receptor. Maybe in the skin, for example, we have touch receptor, pain receptor. Alright? And then it has to go to the brain or to the spinal cord. Which one that connect this receptor to the brain? Which organ? No. The nerve, okay, which is if it is go to the brain directly, gonna be cranial nerve. If they go to the spinal cord first, there's gonna be spinal nerve. You see that location of the nerve over there? That's the one that connect the receptor to the control center. Okay. Now the nerve that carry that information. So this is gonna be only one way over here. They're gonna be called the sensory nerve. See that one? Because it carries sensation to the control center. In this case, it's to the brain. You with me? And the brain will process that information, and then the brain might give the order. The order will be performed by, let's say I'm gonna put the organ over here that perform the action. What do you call that organ that perform action again? Effector. So this is gonna be effector over here. Maybe skeletal muscles, maybe cardiac muscle. Now, which one connect the brain and the effector over here? Gonna be nerve, whether cranial nerve or spinal nerve, right? That's the function of nerve over there. Make a connection between the receptor to the brain and brain to the effector. This one's gonna be only one way. Okay, so it's only one way, which is from the brain to the effector, from receptor to the brain to the effector. That's the way. Only one direction. It's not going back. Now, what do you call the nerve that will carry that order to the effector? You have sensory nerve over here. Mostly will have sensory neurons in it. Now, what do you call? Remember last time when we talked about neuron that go to the muscle, what do you call that neuron?
Synapse.
What do you call that neuron? Joe? I mentioned specifically the neuron that give order is called the, start with M,
A motor unit.
motor, right? So this one's gonna be that nerve over here, gonna be motor nerve, consists of motor neurons. Remember, motor means the one that give order, sense, the name is telling you, the one that carry sensation. Are you with me? Okay, this is really important when we talk about the function of brain and the nerve later, because you have to know which one actually carry sensation, which one carry order. Okay, which one that carry order is called the motor nerve, which will have the motor neurons in it. You follow this one, right? Okay, so this, if you see this one, now the component is become 5 of them. The feedback system has 3, but the whole system over here, the nervous system, it will have 5 components on it. Even though only 3 organs of the nervous system, but it has 5 components. You know what? You follow this? What is the first component called? This receptor. You with me? What is the second component? Over here, sensory nerve or sensory neuron. What is the third? It's gonna be here, which is the brain. It's called the processing. Okay. Processing center. Okay. What is number 4 gonna be? The one that carry order, which is this motor neuron or motor nerve. You follow this? It's very straightforward actually. And the last one is the one that perform action. What do you call that? The effector. Right? So these are the 5 components of the nervous system. 5 components of nervous system. This is how our body works. This is how the brain and spinal cord control our body. You follow this one first. Okay? Now I'm gonna erase this. If you already take a note, I'm gonna erase this. I'm gonna put the okay. Now I'm gonna put the function of the brain first before we talk about the structure. Function. Okay. What is the primary function of the brain? Yes, it's the control. But if we, make a kind of a list, okay, try to, explain, okay, little by little, okay, then we're going to see that the first function of the brain is actually to register, okay, and process sensation. Remember, it's sense, right? Process sensations. Okay? So the sensory neurons carry that sensation from the receptors, and the brain will process that, will register that, it will process it. Okay? So the sensation over here, there are 2 types of sensation. Okay? The one that you really feel it, like for example, somebody touch you, can you feel it? Yes, that sensation is called a conscious sensation. This is mostly coming from our skin. So our skin has a lot of conscious receptors that carry the conscious sensation. Okay, so conscious sensation, this is under the skin. Okay, from under the skin. I say from because this is coming from the skin. Okay, and then from 5 special receptor. Remember, this sensation is coming from receptor. What are the 5 special receptors over here? First, do you see me? Why do you see me?
Eyes.
You have receptor under your eyes, which is, this is conscious. So that sensation, that receptor is called the vision. So vision. So you have receptor in the eyes that give you that conscious sensation. Do you hear me? Why? You have hearing receptor in the ear. So hearing. That conscious is a conscious sensation. Do you smell me? Oh, okay. If there's someone coming with a very nice, perfume, can you smell? Yes. Why? We have sensation of smell in our nose, and it is conscious smell. If you eat the food, can you taste the food? Because what? We have taste receptor in the tongue. Okay, taste. And the last one, do you sense your balance? Do you know where is your head? Do you know where is your legs? Do you know where is your arm? Why? Because we have sensation for that, which is conscious. That's what we call the equilibrium or balance. So all of this is considered as conscious sensation. If it is coming from our receptor under the skin or from this special receptor, all of them will be consciously sensed because they are conscious sensation. You with me? There are another type of sensation is called unconscious sensation. Okay, this is the one that coming from internal organ. Okay, so receptor in the internal organs. Like for example, in your heart, your heart beating, there is a sensation on it. Your blood pressure, which is coming from the blood vessel, you actually sense the pressure, but it is unconscious. It's gonna be sensed by your brain unconsciously. You guys what? So that's unconscious sensation, which will be processed in the brain. Okay. Second, after receive that stimulus, that sensation, usually brain will process it and produce order. Okay, process and produce orders. Okay. Now the orders can be two types. Maybe voluntary orders. Okay, and the order will go to the effector. Remember, order will go to the effector. If it is voluntary order over here, where this order will go? Which effector? On the skeletal muscle. Then skeletal muscle will perform voluntary action. So the action is in the effector, but the order is coming from the brain. That's how our brain works. Or there is also order called a involuntary orders. If it is involuntary orders, then where this will go? Which effector that perform involuntary action?
Unconscious.
There are only 5 effectors, right? What is the first effector that doing voluntary action?
Cardiac.
Skeletal muscle. The next one will be cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, exocrine gland, or endocrine gland. All of them will produce the involuntary action, and the order still coming from the brain. Okay, so that's the second function of the brain. The next function is control, or coordinate learning. Okay, so our learnings, our knowledge will be done by the brain. Brain process this, control this, the way we learn, the way we study, and also the brain will store information in the form of memory. In the form of memory. So your memory is actually stored in the brain. So brain has a special place to store the memory. So you have memory in the brain, right? So you have, for example, somebody have an accident, sometimes they lost their memory, right? If that brain being affected. The last one, the brain also will control our behavior. So our behavior will be controlled by the brain. Okay? Do you have questions so far for this? This is function. Remember, function will fit with the structure. Structure with the fit with the function. We're gonna learn the structure, how the structure actually produce this function. Get it? Before we go there, because this function is really important, therefore the brain is actually really protected. The brain is really protected. There are three structures that protect the brain. First, of course, is the organ that's really hard. What do you call the organ that's really hard?
Skull.
Skull. It's not skull for the brain,
Cranium.
only cranium. So cranium. First is protected by cranium. How many bones in the cranium? 8. Right? Remember, it's going to be part of your left exam later. We're gonna have all the bone, joint, muscle, including the brain over here. Right? So cranium, it has 8 bones. Right? What is the first one?
Frontal.
Frontal. And then we have 2 on the top. Parietal. And we have 2 on the side. Temporal. This is a review, okay? And we have 1 on the back called occipital. We have 1 in the front that look like a butterfly. No, the other one, the one that's bigger, look like butterfly, is called the sphenoid. And the smaller one will be called the ethmoid. So these the 8 cranial bones that protect the brain. Second, the protection is coming from layer. So brain is actually protected by 3 layers of meninges. So there is a layer called meninges. Maybe you have to learn about, heard maybe meningitis. Have you ever heard meningitis? What is meningitis actually? Inflammation of the meninges, which is the layer that protects the brain. So this meninges has 3 layers. The first layer on the outside layer is called a dura mater. And this dura mater usually attached to the cranium. So it's going to be attached to the cranium. That's the dura mater. Right? And then the second layer, it is called the arachnoid layer. Okay? Anybody know the meaning of arachnoid? Arachnida?
Spider.
Spider. What? So why is it called the arachnoid layer? Because the layer look like a spider web. Look like a web. Right? So that's arachnoid layer. And the last layer will be attached to the brain itself. If we dissect or we take the brain from the cranium, the last layer will be together with the brain, which is called the pia method. So pia method is the layer that attaches to the brain itself. So it has dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater. Okay. The third protection will be coming from the liquid. Okay, the brain is actually, also protected by the liquid. That liquid actually located between the arachnoid and pia mater. Okay. That fluid is called the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay. Sometimes it is called the CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so it's going to be protecting the brain from, like the vibrations, friction. Okay. So CSF. So this CSF is located between the arachnoid and pia mater. So these are the three protection for the brain. It is really, really protected. Now, because of this function also, the brain requires a lot of energy because brain never stop working actually, just like the heart. Right? So the brain will get actually 20% of sugar or glucose and 20% of our oxygen. You can imagine that. The brain is really small actually compared to our body, but it gets 20% of our sugar and 20% of the oxygen. If we get less than this, maybe brain will have problem. It will not function normally. Like for example, if you don't get oxygen, it's going to be stroke. But stroke is because no enough oxygen in the brain. You follow this? So that's how important is the brain. It's required a lot of energy and oxygen and also protected by these three structures. Okay, you have question for that, so what? Now we go to the structure itself. We're going to see how the structure will fit with this function. I'm going to erase this again. Okay, we're going to use this model over here. Look at this. Okay, this is actually the brain. It's bigger than my brain. I don't know what's brain is. Okay, so this is the models of the brain. If you see this one, this brain is actually consists of four main components or four main structure, four main parts. Of the brain. Okay. The first one is the biggest part over here. Sometimes you look at the brain, you will be, oh, this is the brain because of this biggest part over here. And this biggest part is called, anybody know the name? Start with the C. This biggest part is called the cerebrum. So cerebrum. This is the biggest part of the brain. Now, the second part is here on the back, a little bit smaller. Right? So this is another part of the brain. See this one? Okay? And this smaller one is called almost similar, but cerebellum. Right? So cerebellum, smaller. Okay, so cerebrum is the biggest part, and then on the back, below it, there is a cerebellum. The third part, you cannot really see it from here. We actually have to kind of open it in order to see the middle part over here. So this is the middle part of the brain. That middle part is called the diencephalon. So we have diencephalon. Okay, which is this part over here. This is the diencephalon. Okay, and the last one will be look like a stem over here. Okay, look like a stem. Okay. What is the name gonna be?
Brain.
That's the brain stem. Okay. Gonna be brain stem. Okay. Do you have questions so far? These 3, 4 main part of the brain. Now, from each part, it's gonna be divided again. Like for example, the cerebrum, it has lobe. It's a lobe, and it has 4 lobes. Like there are 4 main lobes of the cerebrum. Okay, so there are 4 lobes. Okay. You see this part in the front? You see this sulcus in valley? Okay, the one this is kind of divide front and the back part. Okay, see this one? Okay, so this sulcus or the valley that divide front and the back. Okay, you see this? Okay, you see this valley over here? It's divide front and the back. Okay. I'll show you the value of it. This one divide front and the back part. Okay. See this one? This is value that divide front and the back. Okay. So that value that define front and the back is called the central sulcus. Okay, so this value over here, the one that divides front part on the back part is called the central sulcus. Okay, it will make the front part. Okay, it has its own lobe, and the name will be the same with the name of the bone on the front. What do you call that? Frontal lobe. Frontal lobe. Okay, how many is going to be? It's going to be 2 because you have left and right. Okay, you have left and right brain. So it's going to be 2 frontal lobes. Okay, on the back, on the top over here, that's going to be the same name with the bones on the top. What do you call that? Parietal. It's going to be parietal lobe. Parietal lobe. Okay, and on the back here, it's going to be the same like the name of the bone on the back. It's called the occipital lobe. Okay, so on the back over here, and on the side, we also have the lobe on the side over here, right? What do you call it going to be? Temporal lobe, right? So temporal lobe. Temporal lobes. Okay, now For the cerebrum, this is also known as higher brain. Higher brain. Okay. Over here is considered as, especially number 2, 3, and 4 is called the lower brain. Okay. So higher brain and lower brain. So cerebrum is a higher brain. Now, look at this frontal lobe on the front. So the front part of the cerebrum is actually, this is the one that sends conscious sensation. Okay, let's over here. Lobe, the frontal lobe is for action. Let's do this one first. The main functions of the frontal lobe is to order action. Right, so this is the one actually order the actions of our body, our muscle. Right? And the other 3 over here, this is the one that perform sensations. Okay? So parietal, occipital, temporal, their job mostly sensation. The frontal, the job mostly order the action. You're gonna get this one first, right? That's the main function. Now, also this is general rule. General rule. Okay. The right side of your brain over here is actually control the left side of your body. You guys one? Right brain control left of your body. The left brain control right of your body. Okay, that's the general rule for this brain. Okay, how it's work. Now, look at this one. Let's say this frontal lobe. What is the function mostly? Action. Now I am performing this action over here, which is on the flexion of my right elbow. Which one actually order this action? Left frontal lobe. Okay? Action controlled by or ordered by the frontal lobe. You follow this one first. What? This is the one that order action. This is voluntary action. That's why we call the higher brain, because we can control. We can really control that action. Okay, so frontal lobe order the voluntary action. You get this one? The other part over here control the sensation, and the sensation will be conscious. Right? Conscious sensation. All conscious sensation will be going to this cerebrum. Parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe. You follow this one first. Now, look at this one. The temporal lobe mostly will sense the conscious sensation that coming from your skin. If somebody touch you over here, let's say on my left hand over here, where this sensation will go, will be processed. Right of parietal lobe. Okay? This parietal lobe is the one that process conscious sensation from receptor under the skin. If somebody pinch you over here on the left side, which one process that pain? The right side of your parietal. You follow this one. So from the skin, they go to parietal lobes. That sensation. Next, how about occipital? Occipital over here, all of this occipital is sensing information from your eyes. What kind of information that you get from your eyes? Vision. Okay, so occipital over here, vision. Okay, which is conscious sensation. Parietal over here, under the skin. Okay, sensation from the skin receptor. How about temporal? Temporal here, which is on the side. Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me? What does that mean? Which sensation go to the temporal? Hearing. So temporal, hearing. And also, when you eat the food, you will also sense mostly go to the temporal part of your brain, which is what? Taste. Plus equilibrium, because equilibrium is actually located close to the ear. So they all will go to the temporal lobe.
And smell as well.
Yeah, smells will be between this. Yeah, it's mostly smell will also get to this one also. Okay, so smell between parietal and temporal. There is a mixed location, but temporal lobe will also sense for that smell. Okay, so that location of the cerebrum and the function over there. Now, just for your information, when someone gets older, let's say 70, 80 years old, their brain actually shrinking. You know that? And the most part that's shrinking is the frontal lobe. What does that mean? If you see old people, their action is actually just like a baby again, right? Because what? Because their action part, which is the frontal lobes, mostly the one that will be shrink. So if you have old people in your house, don't bother them if they act like a baby, because what? That's natural process happening. Okay, they are actually cannot handle it because their frontal lobe is shrinking. Okay, the most part of the brain that will shrink will be the frontal lobe, which is the one that control the action. Do you follow this so far? This is the cerebrum. Now, how about cerebellum? On the back of here. Cerebellum is actually helping the cerebrum for skill action. So skill. Like for example, if you typing, anybody can use 10 fingers for typing without looking? What? That's skill. How you do it the first time? Can you do it on the first time? Not that easy, right? You have to learn, and then after long period of time, you have that skill. That skill then mostly will be controlled by cerebellum. Anybody can swim? How the first time you learn to swim? You cannot use it. But after you able to do swimming, for example, even though for many years you don't swim, but suddenly you go to the pool, you still be able to swim, right? Because it's safe in the cerebellum. Can you ride bicycle? Right, that's skill. So that skill will be performed after it is being a skill, will be performed by the cerebellum. So cerebellum is for skill movement. Get it? That's control skill. Now how about the diencephalon over here? Diencephalon, it has 3 parts. So the middle part over here, the diencephalon. There is a back part over here. Okay, the back area. It's called the epithalamus. Epithalamus. Okay, sometimes this epithalamus is also known as a pineal gland. Okay, so this epithalamus or pineal gland will produce hormone. Okay, this produce hormone is called melatonin. Have you ever heard the name melatonin? The sleeping pill or sleeping hormone. You actually can buy this melatonin hormones or tablets to make you sleep. Okay, so that's epithalamus, produce the melatonin. And the melatonin production is actually stimulated by darkness. If it is dark, you will produce more melatonin. So during which time you will produce more melatonin? Winter or summer? Winter. So winter we get it a little bit sleepier. You can see from the kids. During summertime, 10 p.m. they're still awake. What? But in the winter time, 6, 7, they're already sleepy. Because it will produce more during the dark condition. That's epithalamus. That's the function. The second, which is the middle part over here, the biggest part, is called the thalamus. Okay, the thalamus. What does the thalamus do? This is actually the relay station. Relay station for sensations. So before going to the cerebrum, the sensations, the information has to go to the thalamus first. Just like a radio station, you know that they receive a lot of information, right? But the one that they give it to you is very limited because what? They're gonna sort it. Okay, so it's sorting information over here. The one that go to your cerebrum will be the one that only important one, not noisy information. You guys want an idea? So thalamus is the sorting for sensation or relay station. And the last one, part of the cerebrum called the hypothalamus. Okay, so it's in the front over here. So very small place. Okay, so if you see this is epithalamus, you have thalamus, and this is hypothalamus. Okay, so epi on the back, thalamus on the middle, hypothalamus in front. And this is the one that will control our hormone. Okay, so this is control endocrine system. Okay, so it's gonna be involuntary control over here to the endocrine system. Remember, endocrine system is part of the effector that perform action involuntary. So that's the function of hypothalamus, connection between brain and hormone. That's the hypothalamus. The last one, the brainstem, also have 3 parts. Okay? The top part, which is here over here, is called the midbrain. See the stem? The top one over here is called the midbrain. Okay, so midbrain. Midbrain. Okay. And the second part, which is bigger, look like belly over here. See that one? Look like a belly. Okay. So look like belly. Okay. So this one look like a belly. It's called the pons. Pons. Okay. Pons. And the last one, which is the last stem over here, that will continue as spinal cord. Okay, this part over here is called the medulla. Medulla oblongata. That's the full name. Medulla oblongata over here. Okay, and it will continue as spinal cord. So just for information, spinal cord and the brain is actually one organ. They are one organ. So it's divided into 2 organs, brain and spinal cord, in order to make us easy to understand actually. But this is actually one continuous organ. So medulla oblongata is the last part of the brainstem that will continue as spinal cord. Okay? So what are the functions over here? Look at this. Mostly this medulla oblongata over here, it has what we call the CV center, respiratory center, okay, coughing center, sneezing. You see that one? So all of them, all of this, it is voluntary or involuntary action. Your heart muscle, the CV center over there. Your heart beating voluntary or involuntary? Involuntary. How about respiration?
You can make yourself.
You can make yourself, but basically it is involuntary. You don't have to really count your breathing. It's do it by itself. So that's also involuntary control for them. Coughing. Can you hold your coughing if you're sick? No. How about sneezing? No. Okay. So this is part of the brainstem function. Therefore, brainstem is really important, especially if somebody hit you on the back, for example, and hit your brainstem, you might die. Because what? It might stop your breathing or might stop your heart beating. Okay, so that's the function of the brainstem. Again, it is called the lower brain because most of the action you cannot control it. Compared to this one, cerebrum, this is higher brain. Everything that's done by the cerebrum you can really control it. Because this is higher brain. Learning, memory, okay, action, voluntary action, conscious sensation, that's all done by the higher brain. Your behavior controlled by the higher brain, which is the cerebrum. Okay. A little bit more. If you see the brains, let's say in this irradiation, okay. So if you see the brains, let's say look like this. Okay, on the cerebrum, you're gonna see hill and valley, hill, valley, hill, valley, hill, valley, hill, valley, hill, valley. The hill is called gyrus, and the valley is called sulcus. Okay, therefore we have the central sulcus over here that divide the front and the back part. Okay, so sulcus means valley or groove, and gyrus means hill. Okay? And then you still remember the neuron? Neuron look like this, right? It has three main parts. What do you call the first part over here?
Action. Is it action?
No, action is going to be the last part.
Oh.
What is the first part? The one that sends. Dendrite. You have dendrite, right? And then what is the second part over here? The one that process. Body or cell body. Okay, cell body. And there's the last part, the one that carry things, impulses. It's called the axon. You guys want? Now, in the brain, on the cerebrum, all the cell body and the dendrite is actually located on the bark of the cerebrum. And this area is called cortex. Cortex. So cortex is the place where the cell body located. And then where is the axon? The axon will be in the middle because axon is just like a cable over here. So all of them will be here. Look like a fiber in the middle. Okay? So this area over here is called the white matter. White matter of the brain. Okay. Now, what is the function of cell body? Process, right? What is the function of axon? Carry things. Now, based on this information, where do you think the processing area of the brain? In the cortex or on the white matter? Cortex. Cortex will be the place for processing center of the brain. Okay, sometimes people say, frontal cortex is the processing center for action. Are you with me? So cortex is action, processing center. And now how about the function of the white matter over here? Because it only consists of action It means that it is actually only track or highway. There is no process at all over here. It's just carrying information, carrying. There is no process. The process will be in this cortex area. You follow this? So this is, how the brain look like and where the processing and the highway will be located. We're gonna talk about this again in the lecture. We haven't even talked about the cranial nerve. We will talk in the lecture also. Okay? I think it's too long now. Okay? So do you have questions? If not, then your lab report will be due on Thursday next week. Okay? I think so. Just check the schedule. This will be the schedule.